Welcome to a new video lesson. In today's lesson, I will discuss about the Latin influence on English language. So, let's begin. The influence of the Latin language on English certainly forms the most important phase in the English linguistic history. Okay, the Latin influence or the classical influence is found operative not only in any particular period. It started quite early, before the settlement of the Teutonic people in England, continued substantially after the conversion of the English people to Christianity, and reached its summit during and after the Renaissance. That is the English Renaissance I am talking about. Okay, so the three chief stages of Latin influence are: the first phase, or the first stage, is the pre-Christian days or the zero period. I have discussed it in the previous video. If you haven't seen it, you can search in my channel and see it. Secondly, after the conversion of the English people to Christianity in the 6th century AD. Thirdly, after the revival of learning, that is during Renaissance in the 16th century. It is the third stage. It is during and after the Renaissance what the Latin influence has been. Okay, today we will discuss about the second and the third stage of Latin influence on English language. So let's begin with the second stage, that is the Latin. It can be termed as the Latin influence after the conversion of the English people, the Anglo-Saxon people, to Christianity. It can also be termed as the Latin Church words. Clear? The greatest Latin influence on English was occasioned by the conversion of the Anglo-Saxon people to Christianity in 597 AD. The introduction of a new religion invariably introduced a number of new words to express new religious practices and rituals. Conversion of the English people started in 597 AD, and it took almost a century to convert the whole race. The English people knew some Christian words even before their conversion. One such word was church, which they borrowed from Greek kuriakon, Kuriakon, which means house of the Lord. After the conversion, they did not adopt the word universally used in the Latin Church and in the Roman languages as ecclesia, eglise, Chisia, etc. ECCLESIA, EGLISE, CHIESA. And they even extended the signification of the word church from the building to the congregation of the whole body of Christians. Minister to Old English Minster, MYNSTER, from Latin monasterium, MONASTERIUM, belongs also to the earliest period. Other words of very adoption were devil, from Latin diabolus, DIABOLUS. In Greek it was diabolos, DIABOLOS. Okay, and angel, Old English angel, ENGEL. Today ANGEL In Old English it was Engel, from Latin angelus, Angelus. The great number of words and ideas introduced by Christianity was very considerable. The missionaries motivated the Anglo-Saxons to embrace the new faith. Native words modified to express Christian ideas are also good in number. The pagan harvest festival, Easter, in Old English it was Eastron, Eastron, celebrating the goddess spring called Austro, Austro, thus remained the same even after the conversion. Okay, only in place of worshipping goddess Austro they prayed before the crucifix. The connotation of the festival wholly changed. The Old English word bless remained the same, but it was modified to denote Christian idea. The Latin words at first translated by the Old English people, that is by the Anglo-Saxons, for denoting new Christian ideas and things are Old English God from Latin Deus, Deus, as in Deus ex machina, as we all know. From Old English heaven from Latin paradise. Okay. Old English High Father from Latin patriarch. Okay, you can now understand these words where this all comes from. So for Milton, Latin influence has been significant. Okay. Similarly, in today's words, patriarchal society, it is actually patriarch, Latin word. Let's move on. Also Old English Vitega from Latin prophet. Tangol Vitega from Latin astrologer. Lacey craft, Lece craft from medicine. Handbook from Latin manual, or it can be said as manualis, Manualis. Both were prevalent. Heathen from Heathen, heathen from Latin pagan or paganus, Paganus. Latin evangelium, Evangelium, evangelium was rendered as gospel. Okay, but was rendered first as God's spell, Godspell, which later became gospel, as I said before, Gospel. But soon they borrowed Latin words directly. The first group of Latin words borrowed before the 9th century include abbot, alms, anthem, altar, altar, bishop, candle, canon, chalice, cleric, deacon, disciple, priest, monk, nun, provost, shrine, etc. Thus, conversion to Christianity had far-reaching linguistic consequences. Okay, so if we would like to conclude, I would like to conclude here is by saying that some of the words like the church, one of the earliest church words that borrowed is the church. The word church itself, one of the earliest church words borrowed is church itself, the word church itself. In Old English it was Cirice, Cirice. Okay, Other words include minister, from Latin monasterium, monasterium. So even as I said before, angel, from Latin angelus, angelus, God from Latin deus, deus, heaven from Latin paradise, Latin evangelium was rendered as gospel, godspell, then it became gospel. Okay. Some other loan words related to Christian religion, as I said, the church service are pope, archbishop, monk, nun, abbot, disciple, hymn, psalms, mass, shrine, candle, priest, apostle. So what we see here is that many of the words that we know today as English words, right? We have never thought that candle was a Latin word, right? So many of the words, even pope, even monk, even church itself, hymn, disciple, all these words, we thought that these are English, but actually these are actually of Latin origin. Again, mass gathering, mass protest. Okay, so the word mass is of Latin origin. It was directly included into English. So we know most of the Latin words, not most, but many of the Latin words without knowing Latin itself. It will be help you if you go there, if you go to Italy. And yeah, so other words related to education and learning were also included in this time, which were like school, master, grammatical, words, meter, and notary. These words were also included during this time. So let's move on to the next segment, next phase, about the Latin influence. So this period consists of the Latin influence during and after the Renaissance. Okay, it can also be termed as a Latin loans during and after the revival of learning. Okay, so Renaissance here, it refers to the English Renaissance. Mind it, it refers to the English Renaissance, not the Italian one. So although the Latin elements had the continuous penetration into English language, the most important phase of the classical linguistic influence was at the time of Renaissance in the 16th century. The influence of Latin on English language during and after the Renaissance was found operative in a number of ways. Okay, in the first place, a number of Latin words had their access to English language through French, because in the meantime French, the Norman conquest has taken place and all that. We'll discuss that in another class. But so what we see here is that the Latin words were accessed to the English language through French. Sometimes it is hard to decide whether a given word has come from Latin or French. Okay, like grave, grave, gravity, solid, consolation, position, infernal, and so on. Secondly, a good number of Latin words were coined into English language with regard to some common affairs of life such as eventual, immoral, primal, fixation, fragmentary, etc. Okay. In the third place, Renaissance brought about a scientific culture in England, and some scientific terms which were used are, for example, botany, telegram, suicide, inertia, radius, radioactive, axis, and many more. Okay, so what we see here is that this kind of learning, the advancement of learning, the revival of learning that is taking place during the 16th century England, where the influence of the Italian Renaissance has also happened. So it is quite obvious that the Latin words will also get incorporated within the learning sphere of the English. That is what is happening. Okay, so it is happening in these phases, these ways rather. Okay, at the time of the English Renaissance, that is from 1385 to the end of the 16th century, Latin had two definite and manifest advantages. Okay, firstly, the highly esteemed Latin poetry, oratory, rhetoric, and philosophy were ever enchanting for the English scholars and literates. Okay. Secondly, Latin had the universal currency, like now English has. Okay, Latin had the universal currency. The Latin words adopted during the Renaissance are often basic word nouns, adjectives, and verbs. So what we see here is that the culture of learning, the way of expressing, is used through these main words, main parts of the sentence. So the nouns, adjectives, and verbs were incorporated into English from Latin. So like nouns like anachronism, allurement, allusion, atmosphere, dexterity, acumen, folio, and many more. Also axis, as I said before, circus, vacuum, species, terminus, radius, stratum, excursion, halo, inclemency, jurisprudence, and many more. The nobility use Latin synonyms for common English words. Okay, so like interrogate for ask, ascend for rise, probity, okay, for goodness, probity, probity, probity for goodness, conflagration, conflagration, conflagration for a simple word, fire. Okay, trepidation, trepidation, trepidation for fear. Nuptial, nuptial, nuptial for wedding. Regal, regal for kingly. Masculine or virile, virile for manly. Feminine for womanly. Inebriated, inebriated, inebriated for drunk. So the nobility is using these kind of words which have their origin in your Latin. Also for volition, volition, volition for wish. puerile, puerile, for childish, epoch for age, consecrated for holy. Similarly, adjectives were also used, okay, like abject, appropriate, dexterous, expensive, habitual, domestic, medieval, stellar, pecuniary, filial, impersonal, malignant, etc. English nouns have Latin adjectives. Okay, as I have discussed in previous video also on Latin influence, like oral for mouth, ocular for eye, mental for mind, filial for son, paternal for father, maternal for mother, solar for sun, taste for gustative, or the other way around, auditory for hearing, olfactory for smell, tactile for touch, vision for seeing, vernal for spring, canine for dog, moon, that is lunar for moon, sylvan, sylvan, sylvan woods, you have read in many places, sylvan for wood, that is forest, bovine for ox, capital for head, that is the mane, okay, vermicular for worm, domestic for home, episcopal for bishop, epistolary for letter, epistolary letter, epistolary form, epistolary letter, novel, epistolary form of novel, okay. So ecclesiastical for church, village, rural, also feline, feline for cat. Similarly, verbs that I was saying that verbs were also included here was like adapt, alienate, assassinate. Okay, adapt, you have to remember like this: adapt, you have to adapt yourself; alienate the person, then assassinate. Don't do. Benefit, consolidate. Okay, so after assassinating, we have to benefit from it, then consolidate your position. Okay, if there is also a problem, then eradicate is also. So you have to remember like this. Not so many words are there, you can hardly, it is quite problematic to remember. So you can do like this, making a imaginary situation. Okay, so what I said here, benefit, then consolidate to it. Then if still someone comes to take advantage out of it, eradicate that person. That is again eradicate. Then exist, excavate, extinguish, harass, meditate. So you can see a journey of a small person to great heights by doing all this. So all these verbs you can accommodate within your own theory, your own imaginary story of doing things. So these words like the excavate, extinguish, harass, and meditate are also Latin words, Latin verbs, which are included in the English vocabulary. Okay. So what we see here is that Latin has not just given words or words. The Latin words have not just directly were not just directly included within the English, but also it affected the grammar or the sentence construction, the style and the syntax, and of the way the English sentence would be constructed, dependent largely on the Latin language. According to Jespersen, and I quote, Latin has influenced English not only in vocabulary but also in grammar, style and syntax, unquote. So the Latin influence, you can take this part as the Latin influence on English grammar and syntax. The implication here is enormous. The influence of the Latin language on English language after the revival of learning was very impactful. Firstly, a large number of Latin adjectives to native nouns is found to exist in the following cases as eye, ocular, mouth, oral, nose, nasal, sun, solar, moon, lunar, letter, epistolary, again money, pecuniary, book, literal, also Middle Ages, medieval. This is a contribution both to variety and vigor in use of language. Okay. Secondly, there are also framed some Latinized adjectives of English proper names such as Oxford, Oxonian, Cambridge, Cambridgian, Milton, Miltonian. Latin words, thirdly we can also say that Latin words formed a very large number of hybrids, okay, with English within English in different ways. A large number of Latin prefixes formed new words with original English words. Okay, so the prefixes were Latin with original English words. Okay, so Latin prefix was x, ex. So like x king, x plus king would be x king. So co is added with worker, becomes co-worker. Pre added to war becomes pre-war. Ded added to form becomes deform. Okay, re plus enter becomes re-enter. Similarly, some Latin suffixes were used with English to form new words like woman, eyes plus ize. Eyes is added to woman, so it becomes womanize. Ative, ative, it becomes talk plus ative becomes talkative. Okay, starve plus ation becomes starvation. Walk plus east, east, walkist. Hidden plus ism, heathenism. Okay, other words that are of Latin suffixes with other part of native English are like backwardation, where the Latin suffix is ation, ation. Similarly, thunderation, okay, starvation. Also with ana is Johnsoniana, Johnsoniana, where ana is the suffix, the Latin suffix. Miltoniana, 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 the second part. Walkist, as I said before, I think. Also heathenism, ism. It can other words like blockheadism, funnyism. Okay. Another part is ocracy. Another suffix is ocracy. Barristerocracy. Okay. weatherocracy. Then is eyes, as I said before, womanize. Then is acious, ACIOUS. Gossipacious, GOSSIPACIOUS. Gossipacious. Okay. Ative as talkative and bablative, BABBLATIVE. Similarly, prefixes, as I said, is ex-king. It can also be ex-headmaster. Also anti. Okay. Anti-slavery. Pre, as in pre-war. Sometimes two sets of words are formed but different in meaning with the same preposition. Okay. Some instances like recollect, that is to remember, and re-collect, to collect again. Okay, this is also used. So as I was telling, that it also influences the syntax, that I will be dealing with it now. So Latin has influenced English, not only in vocabulary but also in style and syntax. The richness of the English language manifests itself in its greatest numbers of synonyms. Okay. Like youthful, juvenile, same, identical, miserable, wretched, and many more. It enables an author to avoid a trivial repetition of the same word and a variety of expressions, in generally considered one of felicities of style. Like sort of story is replaced by kind of tale. Expect can be expressed as look for. The word expect can be expressed as look for, and so on. Poets often find sonorous Latin words better for their purposes. They heighten the tone, add dignity and even majesty to the structure of the sentence. So this was the discussion on the Latin stages of development, the Latin influence and the stages of development, especially the last two stages. As I have said, the first stage in a previous video lesson. So if we try to consider whether the Latin influence is a help or hindrance, though I will discuss this in a larger scale I will dedicate it to a single lecture. But if we try to consider here, we can see that Latin has enormously influenced the English language after the revival of learning. But the influence, though quite extensive, is more superficial and artificial than harmonious or natural. Consequently, the benefit of Latin influence is very often disrupted or disputed. There is a good deal of controversy over the ultimate effect of Latin influence on English tongue. Latin has enriched the English vocabulary immensely, but it also affected the growth of the language and remained often inharmonious with the native tongue. Latin has enlarged the number of adjectives, but it has also parallelly added mostly superfluous words and affected the easy native process of forming adjectives. Latin has increased the number of synonyms, but it also resulted in an artificial and affected style. Latin has made the native language rich and impressive, but it also created unnaturalness and artificiality in expressions. Latin has achieved the international currency for English, but it also lacked national intelligibility. Thus, it may be concluded with yes portion that the ultimate effect of Latin language is something between a help and a hindrance. Okay, so let's end it here today. Thank you.